Hello again. Today we're going to remove the rotary hook. It's not one that I would recommend people do. It's highly advertised on YouTube for whatever reason. The only time I would remove a rotary hook if I was in your position of newly coming into this, is that if you could see a load of threads underneath and it's difficult to get off. So I will show you how to remove your rotary hook as the book does and on video, and I will explain why I don't do it like that. For a lot of reasons. So first of all, we'll crack on down to the rotary hook. I'll just clear a bit of rubbish. Oh, and by the way, if you watched yesterday's video as well, just make sure that you oil the parts when you put in the bobbin case again, and that will be the race along here. So you oil that part, and also down the central hole as well. So you've done all that. Now coming to the rotary hook removal. So I first of all start stripping parts off. So you removed your plate, remove your needle. There you go. Move your needle, tighten that back down in case it comes apart, hold it in, bring that off, and then that clever part here which I was telling you about the other day, the curved one, which is really good for this. It fits perfectly, and you undo that and you undo that. I then use the jeweler's screwdriver, just pop it in and spin them out. I'm working a bit wrong way around here because I just want to show you how this happens. Move the screw and the other screw, and remove your throat plate. You might as well remove your bobbin case. No, I won't do that yet. I'll show you what I mean with that. Just checking screwdriver size, maybe the next one up. Okay, so going with that, it's near on impossible to get a straight screwdriver in there, so you have to be careful how you undo that. Just take the edge off that, take the nip out of it, and take the nip out of that. You then go to the bridge screws, take the nip out of that, and the nip out of that. Okay. Then go to the jeweler's screwdriver and you just take them out. Okay. I don't know if you can see that particularly well. And the other one. and remove that. Now, yesterday I was told you about the location of the actual bobbin case. That sits in that groove there, not that one. That's where the needle goes in. It goes into that one, and I'll show you when I remove the bridge. That one and that one. So that's your bridge. I'll just remove this retaining clip. Clip remove, retaining clip removed, then your bobbin case, and that one fits in there. Okay, not that one, not that one. If that's not located incorrectly, that will spin and it will be not correct. So it has to go into the bridge part on that one there. Okay. Put those somewhere safe, and I advised you to clean that hole out there, which is nicely full of oil, and first of all with kerosene, give it a good clean, and then go in with the oil and leave it a good long time. And the reason for that is that this was a corroded machine, and the model up there was the Mark II, and that was also a corroded machine, and these were very, very difficult to actually get out. Now on this machine I had to remove the lower gear, which I'll talk about in a moment, which you never ever have to do, even though YouTube says, oh yes, you just remove the lower gear and take it out. Rubbish, okay? And the reason for that is that you don't touch the 3 sets of gears within in here, and I'll explain about that, but I'll get back to this. So I knew I had a corroded machine, and I also knew that it wasn't budging. Now what the book says is that you get your screwdriver and you place it in the middle, hold on to your hand wheel and turn. Okay, that may be okay on the on new machines in the day where they were just nipped up and they were easy to undo. They may be okay on machines that have been recently serviced and somebody's taken it out and everything's fine with it, but I'm talking about the machines that you buy that have been maybe 30 plus years in somebody's attic or in somebody's garage, something like that, and this is gummed up with the oil or it's gummed up with corrosion, and that then becomes a major problem on how do you get that out. And I'll keep telling the story about on one of the sites on Facebook, 3 ladies had a go at removing this screw, and it must have been tight, and what happened was that when they were trying to screw it off, the screwdriver flicked off and hit the hook and broke the hooks. That was 3 instances, and I thought there's something wrong here. You know, you can't just keep breaking hooks, so there must be a better way of actually doing it. And I'll just bring in the model to explain what I'm talking about here, because it's all to do with mechanics. So I'll just bring this back, but I'll bring this back in. But if you can remember, yeah, I'll show you what I mean in a moment. So I'll just quick change. Right, so we've got the model, and you've got the, yeah, got everything there. Now, here's a rotary hook, and what the book says, and on YouTube you are shown what to do, is that you put your screwdriver in there, you then hold the hand wheel and you start turning. Okay, now unfortunately this is not tight enough in its place, but if I start, when I return that back, going anti-clockwise to undo that screw, what happens, and I'll just hold that and I'll start turning the entire body, is that the gears are then being forced. I don't know if you can just see that. They're all being forced back on themselves. Yeah. Now your hand wheel won't move. So as you put force with the screwdriver on here, you're actually putting the force through these gears to the point of, if this does not move, if this screw is insisting on not moving, you will shred one of these gears. And I've got a photograph of where this has happened, and I will put it on the Facebook page, 201k/221k Singer sewing machine, which I'm posting the sort of like still photographs of what I'm doing. So you can actually see, you know, in still photos, and I will show you a photograph of where this top gear has shredded and damaged itself beyond repair. And I had a long think about this, of there must be a better way, because you're just going to go damaging your machines. And the problem with that is that something, as you turn with your screwdriver here, something has to give. Now it could be the little screw in here that is tiny, and I'll just remove it for a second. Which is a tiny little screw, and you're putting so much force on that actual thread that you could shear that thread inside there, because there's also a hole in it, which I don't know if you can just see, but that's the oil hole for the shaft. And because of that, something has to give in this wind up, and they call it wind up, where you're sort of putting excessive force onto the gears and onto certain components. I'll just pop that in. Okay, so I had to think about it and thought, how can I alleviate the strain on here? So in doing that with the screwdriver, I'm putting strain on 3 gears, also putting strain on the screw, but the 3 gears that are under stress and also under you know, the likelihood of them shredding, or you know, where the teeth actually break. Now if I just show you the machine that we're actually working on, that actually happened because it was so badly rusted up. They grabbed hold of the hand wheel and they forcibly turned it, and some of the teeth on the machine we're working on have broken, and that was, you know, basically the kiss of death to the machine. It still functions, but it's a noisy, clunky machine. It's not as good as it could have been because somebody's just grabbed it and pulled. So I had to think about this, and one of the things I thought about was basically I have to lock up this machine somehow, lock it up in a way that stops putting pressure on the machine. So the first thing I came up with was a pair of mole grips and putting a rag on the shaft on the bottom and clamping off like that. So that stops the machine dead. Okay. Problem is, I'm still putting, that's stopped 2 cogs, as 2 sets of gears being affected. So I've taken them out because I've clamped it off, but this one here still will turn just a little bit. So if there's going to be damage, it's going to be damaged on here. So that's not good enough. So I thought, how do I get this so I put no pressure on these gears at all? And I've come up with a system that works. I explained it to an American friend via the internet, just gave her instructions on how to do it, and she got it, and she said, and she's happy with it. So Trish, if you're watching, brilliant. So the thing about this is, I'll show you what I did. Move that. And a sip of water. Is it going to take a little while to explain? And I'll bring it in close. Now, when I had a look at the actual rotary hook itself, and you'll see me do that, there you go, that's how it should be, yeah? Easy. But you're advised, you know, take it out, no problem. They almost fall out, well they don't. Out of 13 machines I had 6 that were really difficult. So there's your rotary hook. This here is a needle deflector. It's not a spring. These are the 2 springs for your clip, but that's all it is. Okay, so sometimes these get sort of corrosion muck underneath. If you attempt to take these out, they are extremely difficult to remove the screws to then take the plate off to then clean. They are absolutely tiny little things, and if you drop one you'll be lucky to find it again. They are minute and you need a lot of force to actually remove them. I wouldn't remove them. I had to on this one because the corrosion was so great, and I had to grind down one of these, I think. Or does this one fit? Yeah. I had to grind down the smallest screw bit I had to make it fit, and then I had to use a lot of force to actually use it. So I was looking at this and thought, well, what can I do with this? How do I lock up this actual mechanism? And there you go. I came up with this, and what it does is, when I can find the screwdriver, which I did have, which is now there. Okay. There's a little recess or cut inside the body, and these are beautiful bodies, and you know, should be looked after well. But what you can do is that will take a screwdriver through there, and it will fit to the end of the actual aperture there. If I used a larger screwdriver, say if I turned that out, the forces would then be expanding outwards, and then there would be a chance of a fracture or something, or damage to this. But using this screwdriver, which I think is an eighth bar type screwdriver, so if I measured that, that's an eighth, I think. I've got it. Is I can fit it through now, and I call it the Hills procedure because nobody else does it. Nobody's demonstrated it, and it's totally mine. Okay, so if you see this done on another video, you can say that you've seen this one here first, and the inventor of this procedure is me. It's nobody else, it's me. Okay, now screwing it back down as you would do, nipping it up, and that holds it in place. Now the problem is, I come to this this screw as we normally do, and doing it by the book, and doing it how people on YouTube say you do, is you put your screwdriver in, you hold your hand wheel and you twist. And if you think that is far too tight for you, and it's not moving and it's not going to budge, and you start to feel that you're using too much force, then stop. What you then do is you get that screwdriver and you pass it through. Your hook here you have to be aware of all the time, because you don't want to lean on that or damage it. So you gently bring it round to there, so it's sort of in line with the machine itself. You carefully put in the screwdriver and you aim at roughly, or let's see, about 1 o'clock as you go in. You then turn this back and gently raise until it finds its own level, and you can feel it now locking that part, the actual rotary hook up. Now in doing that, so I'll just repeat that so you get that. So you pop that in and it then catches on that end, which I showed you earlier. The important part here is you don't raise or lower that screwdriver, because you'll just you'll break the screw here, bend it or scrape, snap it. So you just let it come to its own own place. So the screwdriver bar is now against the machine in there and holding that rotary hook. You then get your screwdriver, and you have to do this almost in all of one. You haven't got time to mess about, because this you're now in a bit of a very grey area of you don't want to move it, you don't want to do anything, you just want to do it and get it done. Is I then turn that anti-clockwise, and that will then allow you to turn it. Once that's turned, you then bring your screwdriver out like so, and you can then proceed to remove your screw as normal, and you don't even have to hold the hand wheel because it's now freed up. And what this bar does is lock the rotary hook up on the shaft and put no pressure whatsoever on those gears, so you're not going to screw up your gears at all. And I'll repeat all this so you get to know the point of this. And as you saw there, I actually held that and screwed that back down and nipped it up, as it should do, as in normal circumstances, because I know that will then turn with the minimum of fuss or force, doing no harm to the gears. Now turn your hook into down the main line of the body of the machine. You put this in and you go to about 1 o'clock. You go in at an angle of let's see, roughly about 20 degrees, making sure I neither raise or lower, because I don't want to put any force on that rotary hook screw. Come back, and I'll just make a point here. Can you hear how it's locking up? It's hitting that aperture. Then with the screwdriver, all in one movement, no messing about here, no looking for screwdrivers, you've got to have it all ready. Right, handy if I could get my screwdriver in. There you go. Make sure your screwdriver is absolutely level, and unscrew. And that will take all the force off the gears. You then gently withdraw, come up, and remove, and that comes out. So if you have any threads under there that need to be removed, you can now remove them and clean up the whole area. Now that's basically it. Very straightforward, no drama, no damage, and like I say, it just goes through there. That part there is the part that holds it, but you do need a screwdriver that will fit down there but not be too large, and what you're aiming for is that the force on the holding part of the screwdriver is on there and not on the two parts there. Okay, now a bit of a rant time again, I'm afraid. Sorry I do these rants, but I do think it needs to be noted. I'll just show you what I mean. So turn the machine over. And what you will see, and I've seen this, I think there's 2 videos where this is being done. I'll just come around. Right, I'll bring this in a bit. Yeah. What I've seen on YouTube is a couple of people that are gaining popularity, and they shouldn't even have a screwdriver in their hand. And I go back to the same thing. Who are you to say, well, I've been doing this so long, I've worked on car engines, I've worked on aero engines, I've worked on anything mechanical. And this is why I like sewing machines, because they are very, very different. They all sew, but each sort of generation of sewing machine does it slightly differently, and that's what interests me. Why can't you just invent one machine that does everything and then that's it, end of story? But no, it's always been pushed forward. And one of the things that has really got me recently is how bad it's getting stupid. So what they did was they removed, bad way. They were going to remove the shaft where the hook goes, your rotary hook, and they, from what I could remember, they removed the shaft and the hook together, which there is no reason on this earth why you need to remove that shaft, unless there is a reason. On this machine I had to, because this gear was frozen up, this gear was frozen up with rust, and if you look at the photographs on the post on the website, you can see how bad this machine was, and I've brought it back. And I had to remove the shaft here, because that was the only way I could then start loosening the machine. So this guy I saw punched out under the 2 screws on the gear, used a screwdriver, let's see, this one, and punched out the actual shaft. One thing I will say about all this is that, and I keep going on about the whole point about the 201 are these gears. These are the beating heart of the machine, and there is no reason on this earth, unless there is a good reason, and why you have to do it is that you remove these gears. You don't touch them. The only thing you do is clean and oil them, and if you have to adjust the timing, then that's a different issue. If the timing's off, obviously the machine's not going to work, but the thing is that you do not touch these gears if you can possibly help it. There has to be a reason, there has to be a mechanical reason why you have to do that. And what he used also was a tip that he got from somebody else of actually putting nail varnish over the gears, so he could theoretically reline them up. Now what happened was the nail varnish went into the gears, and all I can say is that's the quickest way to screw them up, and he was using a method that I wouldn't use. If on this one I had to use a centre punch, which you would do, and most of the German machines they use a centre punch and they put a mark for the teeth to engage. So if you ever take it out, you then have to then put it back precisely. And with that, you just slapped it back with all this nail varnish in the gear, and you just don't do that. And the other point is that you're not actually putting them back correctly, and I'll show you why on the model. Now with this whole thing is you just leave those gears, you leave the shafts alone, you just, and I can't emphasize it enough that these have what happens with them when they're put together, and you'll see that you can actually see this on a film of them, not on this, they were doing it on 15s and 27s, is that when they are happy that everything is moving okay, they then put I think it's something like a spring belt on here, and then the whole machine goes on another machine, which then spins the machine at quite high speeds to then bed in that machine. And with these precision gears, they would have done the same, to have run the machine so that the gears would then be in perfect matched parts, so that they run as smooth as they possibly can get it. Just bear with me. So if you touch those gears, you've got a good chance of not putting them back correctly, or they won't go back as well. And I'll show you on my wife's model exactly what I mean. But here's the rub. Okay, so if I just move this machine, I'll bring this one back up. And this is a theoretical thing, and I haven't really checked this out, so I may fall flat on my face on this one. But we'll see. Is that when I came to do that machine, I marked these gears and I marked these gears, and I turned the machine. No, I didn't turn the machine. Sorry, because I just made a reference point of where these top gears were. And the reason for this is that to get those absolutely perfect, and somebody would say I'm pernickety here, yes I am, of getting these gears spot on. Now I'll just show you with this what happens. Put a mark on there, mark on there, mark on there, mark on there, mark on there. Right, so what I've done is I've put a mark so you can clearly see that it's all in one plane, if you like. Now when I come to turn this, when these two come back together, you would think that all these dots would then come back to how they were, but in theory they shouldn't be. Right, okay, so I turn this, and these come up straight away. I've got one dot there, and no dots anywhere. So it's changing, isn't it? Keep turning. I've got one dot there, no dots there. So these gears are running at a different rate, if you like. And I'm not a gear person, so I can't say, well, this is a 4-in-1 gear or whatever like that. But if I spent the time, I could work it all out. But turn it again. Still, I've got one dot there, two dots there. Keep turning again. 1, 1. And nothing, one dot there, nothing there. And hopefully at some stage, when this machine has gone through its cycle, I've then come back to where we started. Okay. Now, if you only put a mark on one dot here and you turn it, these gears have then changed. Yeah. And when these are ground in, this gear will then affect that gear, which will then affect that gear, because that bar turns this bar and that bar. And this is where somebody would say, well, I'm being pernickety, because if you were still locating the two teeth back in there, then correctly, it's not really a problem, because these will still be turning okay, because you've only just altered that one thing. But in my mind, I'm trying to get it back to how the original things were actually ground in, where that gear turning on that gear turns that shaft, which then turns that one, and to make it a beautiful smooth machine. Okay, and I'll show you why. And I'm running out of time, I think. So if you can see what I'm on about with this, it's a bit hard, but yeah, I'm being pernickety, but I want the real best for these machines. Okay, so marking one set of gears is not enough. You need to mark that one, and that one. And the way I do it is that if I have to remove any of the gears, I get a reference point off here if I can, which is usually a screw, and look through the hole where you would actually put a screwdriver in to undo this gear. I reference that one and then put my center punch marks on the hit thing. Now, center punches on gears is not ideal. You have to know what you're doing with it. You don't use excessive force, and you have to know where you actually put them, because you can either damage the gear, or you can fracture it or break a tooth or something like that. So you have to be very, very careful in what you do. It's a bit of a skill, and you've got to know where you're putting. So there's a bit more to it than that. But nail varnish, putting it on the gears so it leaks into the gear teeth is just madness. And why are you doing it anyway? The reason why they were doing it was they wanted to get the shaft out to bring this out, which you don't do. You just leave the gears. Okay. I'll just bring in this machine, and this is what it's all about. This is my wife's machine. Don't tell her I'm doing this, but she trusts me. 1934, first year of building these machines. Everything's okay under there. I'll just take the hand crank off. Okay. There you go. Right. Raise the presser foot, and when Singer did this, they embedded in the teeth so that they would work perfectly. And I'll just turn this machine over, and this is what it's all about, okay? Virtually silent running gears. And can you hear anything? Not much. That's what you're going for. And when you mess with the gears, you upset that beautifulness of it. You know, you don't touch the gears. You've got jokers on YouTube showing you clearly how to remove them, and if I have to remove a gear, it takes me a good 10 minutes to make absolutely certain that that gear is back in the correct position and getting that effect, okay? And the other thing is I have to have a very, very good reason why I remove a gear. There has to be some reason, and if I can work around it, I will do. So that is my bit of a rant about it, but it's also the warning of you are being advised on how you remove your rotary hook to the point of damaging your machine, and this is what it's all about. And I've got a Jones in the back, and all the machines I bring in have got a bit of a story to them, and there's a story for a reason, and in no way am I showing off with these machines. It's for a reason. Right, I got this Jones for £5 for a car boot sale, and I got it home, pristine condition. Just need to wipe over a brush. Yeah, got a brush. Just got it out of storage. And I'll be using this I'll bring it on Saturday, because I'm doing a repair workshop close to where I live, and I'll bring this down. And got this for £5, and I opened it up and I thought, wow, this looks in exceedingly good condition. I know it's not 201, but it's got a point. This has got, this looks in cracking condition. Made in Manchester at Guildbridge, which was roughly about 15 minutes from where I was brought up in Manchester. So I've got a soft spot for Joneses because they were a local firm, and I was just flabbergasted. I thought, God, this is so good. Turn the machine, and it just wasn't really doing it. You know, it wasn't it didn't feel quite right, and it just sort of dragging slightly and everything. So I thought, oh, no problem, I'll give it a really good oiling, give it a clean, and all will be well. But no, it still wouldn't quite do it. And thought about it, and everything seemed okay underneath. There was nothing impeding, nothing from what I could see, but it still had this not particularly good movement on it. And I got to the point of putting a screwdriver in my hand, thinking, right, okay, obviously something is binding here. And on closer inspection of all the friction areas, like that's tight, like the races, like certain parts inside the machine, there appeared to be no wear whatsoever. And I thought, well, that's strange. You know, you would expect some like a shiny surface would be quite shiny because it's been moved and used. And there was none of that, and there was no sort of recess on the metal bits or anything like that. And I thought, well, you know, screwdriver in hand, thinking, well, I could start undoing things and you know, trying to free it up. And then the penny drop was that this hasn't been run in. And when I mean run in, it hasn't been bedded in by the factory. And I think what's happened with this machine was it just simply either Jones didn't bed them in like they do with the Singers, where you can clearly see on the video of them doing that, and I'll give you all the listings for that, where they check the machine, make sure everything's working on it, and then they put it on another machine which then spins the flywheel or hand wheel, and it goes at a heck of a pace, and they've oiled everything, and it beds the machine in so that when you come to it, it turns absolutely perfectly. So I thought, well, there's only one thing I can do here, is bed the machine in, break the machine in, like you do with a car. You know, you buy a new car and you have to run it, what's known as, in Britain anyway, running in the engine of, you know, you can only do such a speed, usually below 50 miles an hour, and you only rev it to a certain degree. So you allow the car and the engine to sort of just manage itself, let it bed in properly, and usually at the end of that they do an oil change to take all the you know, sort of bits of metal that have worn on, because it sort of like gently wears the engine in. And this was the thing with this one, that it just wasn't bedded in. So what I did that, and basically all I did was oil it and turn it, oil it and turn it, oil it and turn it, and just kept it running like this. And I actually left it out so that I could just turn it every time I passed it. So I was putting the wear into the thing. Now it's absolutely fine, absolutely no problem. And before it was not right, not quite turning. So this machine, they either Jones didn't bed the machines in, unlike Singer that did. And when you heard the actual, you know, my wife's one, it is very clear that machine is in perfect, lovely working order. And that comes to the other point of, you don't mess with them. They have been set and done and bedded in so perfectly, and particularly with the 201s with its gears, that you don't start messing with these machines unless you really, really have to. And you know, they are great things, and you know, just be very careful with YouTube, because there are jokers out there. And what I'm trying to show with all of this is correct ways of doing things, and your machine will come to no harm if you follow what I say and do. And that's about it. there will be other videos, but I'll be slowing down a little bit now because I've been taking up quite a bit of time with these now. But things like tension discs and stuff like that I'll do on a later date about the 201. But yeah, enjoy your machine, and don't be careful with your screwdriver, because you may not even have to use a screwdriver. You just may need to just clean and oil. Good evening. Bye now.